All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, another NBA playoff video. In this video, we're going to talk about a couple games from the last day and earlier today. So if you like what I say, like the video. If you have your own opinions, comment down below. And if you just like the vibes, consider subscribing. I am recording this the day of. I'm recording this as I'm watching Oklahoma City versus the Phoenix Suns in the playoffs. I made a miscalculation, but it's okay. I didn't realize how many games were this weekend. So we're going to talk about Celtics Sixers, Rockets Lakers, which is an important one, which is a big one, Spurs, Blazers, and then earlier today, Orlando Magic versus the Pistons. And then hopefully on Monday, I will only have to talk about four games again. So let's get into it. If I seem distracted, I'm literally watching the Phoenix Suns game versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. So if there's a pause, if I break, if I say something, that's why, because it's on the other monitor. Anyway, let's get into this Boston Celtics 76ers game. This game for the Celtics, they won it 108 to the Philadelphia Sixers 100. And it was the Jays' night. It was Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown doing it all for the Boston Celtics. A little bit of Peyton Pritchard, a little bit of Nikola Vucevic. But for the most part, when they started out this game, they made sure the Sixers were going to have to climb a lead. They weren't going to let them, let's see, stay around too much. Um, the Celtics shot the ball very good to start this game. They passed the ball well. The 76ers had a good stretch to end the half, and that was due to basically all their guys, all their starters playing all the minutes. Almost every starter except Adem Bona, who was in foul trouble for most of this game, just committing silly fouls. And through my notes, you will see how I reacted to this. But just for the game as a total, Paul George 18, VJ Edgecombe 10, Tyrese Maxey 31, Kelly Oubre 17, Adem Bona 10, and off the bench Andre Drummond 12, and then they just ran two other people off the bench, and that was it. They ran, what is that, an eight-man lineup where the bench guys only played like 10 minutes or so. Andre Drummond probably would have played 10 or so minutes, but he was the backup for Adem Bona that night, so he played a little bit more. The Sixers weren't particularly great at rebounding this night. 37 rebounds to the Celtics 45. And in the closing moments of this game, or I should say, as the 76ers were closing in on the Celtics to, I guess, end the half, right? I think I meant to put quarter there because I have good stretch to end the half for the Sixers, and then 76ers closing in on the Celtics at the end of the third quarter. Maxey hit a particular one, a great shot, just an amazing shot. VJ had a very acrobatic layup that made me jump out of my seat. Adem Bona, dumb fouls all game. Dumb fouls. Adem Bona committed like a stupid foul. He got switched on Jason Tatum. He like tried to poke the ball or something, and then he was upset with himself. But then in a moment that I really liked, um, Tyrese Maxey came over to Bona and said, it's fine, and just keep playing, just don't do it again." And I thought it was really good. That was some really good maturity stuff from Maxey. I thought that was nice. Um, Andre Drummond had another great game. Like, you didn't expect Andre Drummond to play this much in this series, at least I didn't think so. He's giving you 12 points, 6 rebounds, like three offensive boards. That's the most, second most for the team. That's pretty good. Um, the Celtics just overwhelmed them with firepower, especially the Jays at the end. This is why you have two stars and you're fine with everybody else having okay games because Jason, Jalen will close games. They will go out there, do it on both ends. Tatum is still treading water when trying to play defense, but it's not too terribly. Um, he's not too terrible on that side of the ball. Jaylen Brown has been all world all season, and there was a moment for Jason Tatum where he took a stupid shot. It bounced off. They got the rebound. The Celtics did, and the ball found him again. And you could tell he wanted to swing it one more time, but he didn't. And he had Bona on the switch again, and did a couple dribbles, rose up, took the shot with confidence and it went in. It was money, and you could tell that shot meant a lot to him. It meant a lot to Celtics fans. After just a couple months after an Achilles injury, to hit a big shot like that in the playoffs. I said in my notes, Tatum is back. A few bad shots equals a big time shot for JT, and he was really feeling himself in that moment. Obviously, top left, that's his reaction to him making the shot, himself making the shot. Man, it was kind of surreal. I felt really happy for Jason Tatum because like you could tell he's still a little tentative, especially on the defensive end, backpedaling and like recovering on defense. But offensively, he looks good, and I I I, I do truly believe that there is in there somewhere the old version of Jason Tatum. Will he be as athletic? I don't know, but that's not what made Jason Tatum special. I mean, his explosiveness and the other things that go along with being dynamic made him really special. But I think all that with the what he knows and he's already won, and he doesn't need to like really be that explosive anymore. Especially if Jalen Brown's gonna be that guy and they get a really big time center in the offseason or something. Um, and then we move on to the 76ers at the end of this game. 76ers at the end of this game. I ask myself this all the time when I watch the 76ers. And I especially when it's just Tyrese Maxey out there. And it's been Tyrese Maxey out there alone by himself for a fair bit now. Um, I say to myself, Tyrese Maxey, why? Why are you taking that shot? Why are you doing that? And there were a couple of times in this game where I said that, but he made the shot. And then there were other times, especially at the end, really closing on the end of this game, when it's like go time, when he took a couple shots, and I was like, that's not the shot, Maxi. And then I started to look around, and I was like, well, who else are you gonna go to? Especially in this moment, in these playoffs, it's like Maxi's got to take those shots, and he was 12 for 31, 5 for 13 from three, 22 for two from free throw. Um, was it one turnover, 6 assists? So like he's trying to do it all, but at the end of the day, he just it just looks bad. Like it looks bad optically for him, and the 76ers um, fall in the series to 1-2. Boston Celtics leading 2-1. So yeah, that's it. Now the meat and potatoes of this video, and also the reason why I kind of wanted to make this video, not wanted to wait to do like a ton of games at once on the Monday video. Um, the Lakers versus the Rockets. I have so many notes for this game because it was such a freaking roller coaster. It was such a odd game. Like it felt. I think even the announcer said that. Like this is an odd game. This felt weird. It was a weird playoff game, and it's a lower seed that is winning this series. They're up 3-1. The Lakers are. The Houston Rockets have not won a game. They basically had this game, and we'll get to why they didn't win this game in a minute. But the Los Angeles Lakers got the win, 112 to the Houston Rockets, 108, on the back of a LeBron James 29-point performance at the age of 41 years old. Rui Hachimura 22, Marcus Smart 21, and then for the Houston Rockets, 24 for Jabari, 33 for Shangun, 26 for Ahmed, 17 for Reed Shepard. Um, and this was an overtime game as well. This didn't finish in regulation. Um, so let's get into this. Um, the biggest note of this game when starting is no KD, no Kevin Durant again. He was out with an ankle game one. He's out with a knee problem this game three. And the Rockets started the second youngest starting lineup in NBA playoff history. So that's pretty interesting to me. And that's gonna come back in a minute. It's gonna come back in a couple of these moments here that they're running one of the youngest groups in the NBA in playoff history. But the Rockets did fight for their lives. They kept this game close the whole time. There was a point in which I think the biggest lead for them was, I want to say the biggest lead was six. Oh my God, that felt like it was way more. Yeah, the biggest lead was six. It felt like it was way more when I was thinking about it earlier. But throughout the course of this game, Jackson Hayes had a really like crazy dunk. I was like, oh whoa! I was like, whoa. Um, Rockets playing like their season is on the line because it is. Um, this Rockets team, I don't want to make excuses already. they're very injured. And if their players aren't injured, whoever they've gotten this offseason is just ass. Um, I don't have this in my notes. Oh, actually, I do. So we'll get to it in a second. Um, the other note I have here is I noticed because I took my eyes off the screen for 1 second. I was doing something else, and then I came back and I was watching it, and I was like, wait, is that who I think it is? Is that Jeff Green in an NBA playoff game? Ime Udoka thought it was a good idea. I mean, he had no other ideas at this point to throw Jeff Green out there. Old Jeff Green. It's crazy. When Kevin Durant gets hurt, it all falls apart. My second note of this moment, where like I'm looking at lineups and I'm like, what's going on? The Rockets were playing Reed Shepard, Ahmed Thompson, Dorian Finney-Smith, Green, not Gerald Green, not Draymond Green, Jeff Green, and then Alperen Şengün. And I just put, huh? Because I looked at this lineup and I was like, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. And that lineup wasn't out there for very long, but it just didn't make sense. It actually made me like scrunch my face. I was like, this is nasty. This is a nasty lineup. Um, as you move into the fourth, not the last quarter, but just the fourth quarter, Reed's defense was okay enough. I mean, he was playing like he had his job on the line. I mean, after this game, man, people were dragging Reed. They've been dragging Reed Shepard all year, but man, oh man, after this game, are they dragging Reed Shepard? Reed Shepard looks like he just looks small out there. He just looks like almost comically small. Like you know one of those movies like where like a kid becomes like a pro athlete, like Mike or something. It's like that. Reed Shepard's out there looking like a kid actor playing against professionals. Like, and it's crazy because this Lakers team isn't that tall, but when you look at it, LeBron James, Rui Hachimura, DeAndre and Luke Kennard, Jared Vanderbilt, Jake LaRavia, Jackson Hayes, um, even Marcus Smart looks huge in comparison to Reed Shepard. And Ime Udoka, the coach of the Rockets, had no other option but to start Reed Shepard because you just can't do anything else. You just roll the dice out there and see if he has a good game. And he had a halfway decent game. I mean, we go look at his stats right here. He had 17 points and he was 4 of 13 from three and 6 of 21 from field goal. Okay, it's not so great, but you just look at the 17 points and the three steals and the 7 assists and the 4 rebounds, and then you got to look at the the 5 turnovers and the 5 personal fouls. Yeah, it wasn't great. It wasn't great. I'm gassing a little bit. It wasn't great. Reed, however, Reed and Alperen Şengün stepped up to start the fourth quarter. Alperen Şengün went nuclear this game. He went absolutely nuclear, doing everything in his power, flopping, moving around, moving his body. It was a crazy thing to watch because it just looked like there was a guy out there who this is like his third or fourth time playing basketball, but the stuff was just going. Every shot was going in, and he was just like, okay, it's going in, sure. Um, this is when it starts to look good for the Rockets, and then it doesn't get good. LeBron James has been he was stumbling all night, like he was tripping over his own feet, dribbling the ball off his foot. He stumbles and coughs off the ball late in this game, and then after that cough up, um, Alperen Şengün had a moment, had a real moment, um, had a real moment and a real time where like Alperen Şengün is gonna save this series for the Rockets. You know, he's gonna save it. This is the game. He's emptying the clip. He's emptying the tank in this game. Hopefully Kevin can be back and healthy for the rest of this series, and he doesn't have to do this again. And I have my notes. This is the Alperen Şengün game. And then the next note is when it gets real messy. I put no way Rockets stupid turnover back to back. They had two really bad ones, but the one that's getting like replayed a lot on socials is well, Reed Shepard had a turnover. I should make that very clear. He had a really bad turnover. He tried to throw it ahead and it just didn't happen. But the big one everybody's talking about is um, Jabari Smith Jr. gets a rebound, right? And everybody's getting back on defense, right? The Lakers are. The Rockets are bringing up the ball kind of slowly because it's the end of the game, but we need to get it across the timeline, across the half court line. And Jabari Smith, grabs the rebound, looks around, like takes one or two dribbles, and is like, "Oh, I don't want to bring this all the way up." I don't even know what his thought process was there. Like he didn't want to be fouled at the end of the game. He didn't want to bring it up and turn it over. He overthought it and he turned it over anyway, trying to get it to Ahmed Thompson. And he threw it over the top. Like he didn't throw it like under like a chest pass. No, he purposely threw it over so like hopefully nobody would get it. But lurking in the shadows, right near Ahmed Thompson, was former Defensive Player of the Year Marcus Smart. And Marcus Smart comes in and just whoop takes it and just ends up throwing up a prayer for a three, and the Rockets foul him, and then it goes to overtime, and I believe he shot the free throws, but um, absolutely terrible. Jabari Smith is getting torn up online, um, and it wasn't it's not great. I have thoughts about this whole thing and this whole series, but I have in my notes here the last couple ones for this series for this game is Smart Marcus Smart up to his old tricks, the good and the bad. He did have some unneeded fouls, but some brilliant moments on defense. And then my last note here is meltdown for the Rockets, and I think meltdown's an understatement. This is like a, a nuclear meltdown. This is awful. Um, thought one about this whole series is um, something that sticks out to me and something I saw online. I believe it was from Kevin O'Connor on Threads or Twitter or something, where he said something along the lines of LeBron has always made his team better. Whether he has another star there, whatever the case may be, as long as he's on the court, he makes his team better. Especially in a playoff series when you can just boil it down to this is a team we're gonna see at least four times. We can dissect him this way, right? LeBron has always made his teammates better. Kevin Durant, by the same metric, has never made his teammates better. And the team gets marginally worse when he's out. Obviously, duh. When your star player's out, it gets worse. But even when he's there, this series hasn't looked competitive. And the overreaction to this game is like you have to tear it down and start over again, right? That's the overreaction, of course. Trade everybody, get a new coach, whatever. Um, Here's my one stipulation about the coach thing: is I think if Ime Udoka can't get one win, he might have to go. It's going to be very hard for this Rockets team to go to LA, play the Lakers, and possibly they have either Luca or Austin Reeves back at some point. It's going to be very hard for the Rockets to win. They Kevin Durant isn't going to help isn't going to help them at this point, at this juncture. They might have reached an impasse, and this is my personal opinion because I like Ime Udoka. I think Ime Udoka deserves one more chance. He deserves one more chance. This was a bad year. Everybody was injured. No Fred Van Vliet. Dorian Finney-Smith hasn't panned out like you thought he would. Um, Steven Adams went down, who was the backbone of this front court and controlled the paint a lot. Um, the next thing is like, what do you do with this roster, right? And you could look at this roster one of two ways. You could look at and say the same thing. No Fred Van Vliet. They don't have a organizer. They don't have a floor general. He, we can run this whole squad back and we'll be much better just because we have Fred Van Vliet. I'm not the biggest fan of Fred Van Vliet, but I think mixed into this microcosm, he can be the actual adult in the room and he can do all the positive things that you need from a point guard with less shot attempts. Um, and that might be better for him and he might look better. Um, but looking at some of the pieces they have, um, I saw this on Twitter, but Reed Shepard's not getting another contract. He's not getting after this rookie deal's over. He can't get one. It's really bad out there for Reed Shepard. I've been hating on Reed Shepard for a little bit because like he's the one guard that came out of Kentucky that isn't good. Like him and Rob Dillingham are the only ones that just aren't good. Every other Kentucky guard is good, and it's just so like jarring to be like, it's not Reed Shepard's fault that he was taken this high by the Rockets when he got drafted. It's the NBA's fault sort of for letting a guy like Reed Shepard at his size with the deficiency he has and the very small, the minuscule like positives that he might bring at his peak, go top three. You know, when there are other options on the board, and I think it's Raphael Stone who's still with the Rockets and he's the GM and stuff. That's a huge blunder for him. That's really bad. Because if you have any other person from that draft class, um, you probably have a better future. Speaking of future, um, if Reed Shepard isn't going to be here, right? And it's just going to be Alperin, Ahmed Thompson, and Jabari Smith. I don't think Jabari Smith can come back after the Kevin Durant, burner stuff and talking shit about him. Jabari Smith, he obviously has a mental block. He obviously has something that isn't right. Um, and he's just like he doesn't know what's going on, sometimes, and you feel bad for him, but at the same time it's like Jabari Smith is in what year? He's in year what, 3, 4 at this point. Yeah, he's 22. He's in year 3 or 4. Like, yeah, he's next year's gonna be year 5 for Jabari Smith, and he's an okay player, but I don't know if he can play with this iteration of this Rockets team. And now this brings me to the other thing I was thinking about was, um, what do you do if you really want to shake it up and do something this summer? What do you do? Do you put Alperen Şengün and Jabari Smith on the table and you're like, hey, whoever wants them, give us your best deal, and maybe try to figure it out that way? But like I said this at the beginning of this whole Kevin Durant thing in my preseason videos, like I don't think it's a bad thing if this Rockets team fails. I'm not gonna overreact like that. I don't think it's a bad thing this team fails. I think it's I think it's a bad thing if there are so many blunders and it becomes a mental game, right? And players like Alperin and Ahmed become like sort of shells of themselves. And I think I'm rambling a little bit now, but it's just I don't think it's a bad thing. I think Kevin Durant being on this team isn't a bad thing. I thought that maybe they would win a little bit more. I don't think you can learn anything from being swept if that's going to be the outcome of this first year of Kevin Durant and these young guys. That's not a positive. I thought at worst they lose in the conference finals, they lose in the semis, right? At least these guys gain some experience, some playoff experience that's much needed, right? And even after Kevin Durant leaves or retires, they can take that knowledge and stuff and lead their own team, But this stuff isn't great. This locker room isn't great. Ime, as much as I like him, I said this in my last video about this Rockets team, my last playoff video. Ime's getting exposed, man. You're getting exposed by JJ Redick, who's a second-year head coach, and you've been a head coach for a hell of a lot longer. It's embarrassing, dude. Embarrassing. Um, yeah, that's really it for this game. Like I said, I gave you guys the numbers, right? Yeah, LeBron James, 29. Rui's been really great this series, 22. Shout out to him. Marcus Smart, 21. 10 assists, 5 steals, 2 blocks. The best defensive player last night. I mean, this Rockets team's had a lot of steals too. Um, Let me see here. Reed Shepard, 3 steals. Ahmed, 3 steals. Uh, Alperen Şengün, 3 steals. Tari, 4 steals. Jabari Smith, 1 steal. This was when they were really rolling, and then it turned very bad very quickly. So yeah, the Lakers lead the Rockets in this series, 3 games to none. Lakers leading. Okay, next one here. The San Antonio Spurs versus the Portland Trail Blazers. No Wemby this game, out with concussion protocol from the concussion he sustained the last playoff game. Um, Early in this game, I joined this game about I say after the first quarter, midway through the second, because this other Lakers Rockets game was playing, um, and I obviously wanted to finish that and was in an overtime, and I didn't want to flip the channel. I did have it on like the dual, like what do you call it, like simulcast, like the one game on one side and the one game on the other side of the TV. Yeah, I had it like that. But um, the biggest thing about the early part of the Spurs Blazers game is that Donovan Clingan was in foul trouble. Um, and I kept watching the game, and I said, man, Drew Holiday. Yep, just Drew Holiday. That was the note. Drew Holiday. Yep, that was it. Drew Holiday had an amazing game this game. I said this another time as well, where I was like, Drew Holiday has had like 3 to 4 different primes. You have the one with the Pelicans, you have the one with the Bucks, you have the one with the Celtics, and now you have the one with the Portland Trailblazers, where he's your leading scorer for a playoff game. 29 points, 12 of 18 from field goal, 5 of 9 from three, 5 assists, 6 rebounds, 4 steals. He was a man possessed. And I love that stuff from Drew Holiday. And I said it before, and I'll say it again. If I had to pick a career and I couldn't be an NBA like all star, like all time great, I'd be a Drew Holiday type of player. Drew Holiday has had such a great career, and it's really cool to see him. And it's in a loss, but it was really cool to see him come alive again and do that stuff that he was doing, um, using all the skills he's learned from all the other stops that he's been. Um, Also, another guard that was balling for the Blazers, Scoot Henderson. Reemergence is real. 21 points, 8 of 18 from field goal, not great, but 5 of 10 from three. That really impressed me. I didn't realize it was that many threes taken and that many made. Only 2 turnovers on the night, 4 personal fouls, not great, but this whole team was in foul trouble, really. Um, 2 rebounds, really good stuff. It's gonna be interesting to see how Scoot plays next to Dame next year, and they're really favoring Scoot these days over Shaden Sharp because I really like Shaden Sharp too. I haven't seen a lot of Shaden Sharp, especially these first couple games of his playoff series. I haven't seen him a lot, but shout out Scoot Henderson, man. Really, really good stuff. Number 00. Um, the Spurs were down 11 um, at halftime, and then they really started getting down to business. The penetration that the Spurs had, poking holes in the paint for this really good Portland Trailblazers defense. You had guys like Stephon Castle. You had guys like Dylan Harper, who had an amazing game. He had his career high in points, 27, uh, 4 or 5 from three, took 12 shots, made 9 of them. Him and Stephon Castle getting in the paint, making the Blazers collapse, them kicking it out, getting it to guys like Devin Vassell, getting it to guys like De'Aaron Fox, Julian Champagnie, Keldon Johnson, Carter Bryant. That was what really unlocked this game for the Spurs and what really changed the tide going into the end game was um, them getting downhill, applying pressure, making the Blazers panic and have to double down low and then kick it out or go down, make the free throws and do it that way. Oh my God. Side note, Dylan Brooks just hit a crazy three in this Spurs Oklahoma City Thunder game. Back to this Blazers game though, and Spurs game. Um, the Spurs were coming back um, thanks to their youth. Keldon Johnson only had 5 points in this game, but they were much needed 5 points. Um, Also, there was the moments where Drew Holiday wasn't on the floor, and this Blazers team did not look great. Even though Scoot Henderson did step up, they still didn't look great. It wasn't enough to beat this Spurs team. Dylan Harper had a night, and the Spurs closed this game out the right way, and they closed it out to the final score of 120 to the Portland Trailblazers 108. The Spurs lead the series 2-1. Um, yeah, really good stuff. I really enjoyed this game from the Blazers. It was a much needed game. It was the first time in 5 years they had playoff basketball in Portland. That was nice to see. That place was always rocking. But to see Drew Holiday, see Scoot do what they had to do, um, was amazing. Um, I'm I I don't like the comparison back in the day of like Scoot to Wemby and who was going to be better. It was always going to be Wemby. Um, but for Scoot to find his niche and find what he actually is great to see. Drew Holiday, again, coming alive. There are some worrying things. Donovan Clingan did not play well at all this game. He had 11 rebounds, but only 7 points. Tumani Kamara had 2 points as a starter, not great. Um, Jeremy Grant gave you 13. Robert Williams gave you 11. Um, but simply was not enough to defeat this high power Spurs team that sort of played a different kind of game when Wemby wasn't out there, which was interesting to see because they knew they didn't have that defensive back line, so they had to like get it on the other end, and they had to just keep matching them bucket for bucket, back and forth, keep grinding away, and It resulted in some really good minutes and really good stat lines for the Spurs. Luke Cornett, 14 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists. De'Aaron Fox, 18 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds. Devin Vassell, 11 points, 7 rebounds. Stephon Castle, 33 points, 5 assists, 4 turnovers, not great. Clean that up a little bit. And then the Dylan Harper, 27 points. Very high powered for the Spurs. Now, to move on to the last game, and the first game that I'm talking about in real time, because this game just finished up. Detroit Pistons versus the Orlando Magic. The Orlando Magic come out at home and stand tall at home and win this game 113 to the Detroit Pistons 105. And man, this was an interesting game because it was back and forth all game. You could really tell the Pistons wanted to win this game. They needed this game. They wanted to go up 2-1 and not be the one down 2-1. But as you go through this game, especially in the beginning parts of it, the Pistons really started uh, putting the Orlando Magic on the back foot, getting them pedaling back, getting them questioning their assignments and stuff like that. And it looked positive. It looked like the team that had won a game in this series. And then it started to reverse. It started to look really not great. The Magic were pushing the Pistons to their limit, like really, really making the Pistons try to lock in on somebody. And then once you locked in on somebody, like there was like a wild, like, okay, this happened later in the game, but a Franz Wagner three, a Paulo Banchero three, um, a an Anthony Black, shot. And the Pistons really couldn't find a way to stop anybody. They would stop one guy, and the other guy would hit a shot, and then they would try to stop that guy, and then this guy would hit a shot. And it sounds pretty like generic by me saying that, but that's literally what was happening. Um, every rebound this game was a dogfight too. So you could tell by like the end of the third, end of the fourth, or not end of the fourth, middle of the fourth, that like those rebounds were starting to take a toll on some of these guys. In the fight and the constant boxing out and the constant jumping up, getting the rebound. The guys were like pulling each other and the refs weren't calling it. Like they were holding each other, and like one guy would like rip free and try to grab a rebound, and it was actually some like early 2000s basketball, which I try not to say a lot on here. Try to compare other eras to the era we're currently in, but it was kind of dirty. It was kind of like muddy in the paint, and it was fun to watch. Um, Other stuff I have here: Magic getting everything they won at home. Towards I believe it was the beginning of the fourth or maybe the end of the third, Paulo checks back in, um, and immediately does a Euro step into a dunk. Like what? He literally checked in, high fived somebody, they inbounded the ball or whatever it was. He got it, dribbled down the floor, Euro stepped, and then dunked it, and then that was his first bucket back of the quarter. Crazy. Pistons made a run. Um, they made a really convincing run. They needed Jalen Durr in this game, and they did not have Jalen Durr in this game. Not because he was injured, not because like he fouled out or whatever. He just played bad. Only 9 points and 10 rebounds averaged for this series so far, so that's a 3 game sample size. This game was horrendous for him. If I go look at his stats, um, 8 points, 9 rebounds, yeah, about on average for the series. It wasn't great, and he looked bad. He got babied by Wendell Carter on the Magic. And then we come down the stretch here, where maybe we thought the Pistons could win this game. That did not happen because Paulo hit a three down the stretch, and then he hit another one, and then Franz comes down a couple possessions later and hits another three, like a really deep one, and it's like what? These guys never hit threes, and I had a moment right there in that moment where they both had hit a couple threes, and I was like, this is what I wanted from you guys all season. This is why I picked you guys to win 50 plus games this season. And now you decide to do it. It was nuts. I just had that thought because I was like, why couldn't you do this all season? It looks so easy. It looks so good when you guys do it. And yeah. To close out this game, Cade Cunningham trips, turns the ball over like spectacularly. This is the other Paulo three I was talking about. it was just one of these days for the Magic where they just had all the shots going in. If Paolo hits two threes, then in the clutch time, that's when you know the game's over. And that's the end of my notes, and that's the end of today. This Phoenix OKC game is ending, um, but I will not try to spontaneously talk about it. You'll get that video on Monday where we will talk about Oklahoma City versus the Suns, Hawks versus Knicks, and then what other stuff do we have here? Oh yeah, we got a bunch. We got Cleveland versus Toronto, San Antonio versus Portland, Boston versus 76ers again, and then Los Angeles versus Houston one more time on Sunday. So you guys will get that stuff on Monday. There's a video going up tomorrow, Sunday, WNBA one. That's a very long one. I didn't expect it to take that long, but it did. I put in a lot of work. I put in a lot of time. I would appreciate it if you checked it out. Tomorrow, I made a post already about it on the post tab of this channel, so you can be on the lookout for that video. Thank you all so much. The end screen should be popping up right now. Check out the playlist on the right. Check out the video on the left. Eventually, it will be the one I'm talking about, the WNBA one, but for now, it will just be a placeholder. And if you click my icon right in the middle, it will take you, it will let you subscribe, and you can subscribe with ease and continue to keep up with NBA playoff stuff and WNBA regular season stuff that's going to come up here very soon. So, like and comment as well, and I will see you all next time. Cheers.